So I know for a lot of you, the belief is that men are confusing as hell. and, and men are complicated and men are difficult. And for some of y'all, you may have gotten to a point where you feel like men aren't even worth dealing with. And I want you to slow down and change your perspective, because the reality is that there are a lot of great men out there, a lot of men who can be on the same page as you as far as what you want, values, things of that nature. But you have to have a deeper understanding of men in general. And we have to learn how to separate the bad apples from the good ones, so to speak. Now, let's be real. Everyone is capable of being not that great, especially in the wrong situation. And I think that a lot of the issues that we see between men and women and the disconnect in relationships are more so an example of two people who don't fit together rather than men or women being anything bad in general. Though there are some bad people, okay, clearly, but there's some good ones. And so I really want to just lay out for you in this video things that every woman needs to know about men. Now, again, this doesn't mean every last single man. I do believe that everything I'm about to mention applies to the majority of men, but you have exceptions to every rule. So let's get to it. The first thing women need to know about men is that men do want a relationship. Now, I know I stuttered, maybe because I'm not lying. But listen, I know some of y'all think that's ridiculous because these men are out here in this street, not wanting commitment, not wanting to be serious. And again, that's a misunderstanding of what's really going on. So I wish I would have brought it with me, but there is a recent study showing how I think it was 60 something% of men are looking for a relationship. And believe it or not, the survey showed that women at a much lower percentage, I want to say 40 something%, if not lower, were looking for a relationship. So more women are essentially mentally or emotionally checked out versus men. But regardless of this survey, this study that they did, I can tell you as a man who, though my following on social media leans heavier towards women, I get a lot of men who follow me. I get a lot of men who stop me in the street, tell me how they watch my videos, how much they enjoyed and find it helpful. And men expressing a desire to either become better for a relationship or asking how to find a relationship and so on and so forth. So a lot of men, they may not be as vocal about it, but they want it. Now, the other reason why this misunderstanding has been created is because just because a man wants a relationship in general, that doesn't automatically mean he will want it with you. Now, I don't say that to you to disrespect or make you feel bad or throw shade in any kind of way. That's just the reality of it. Same way you're going to meet men that you don't want to be with. It doesn't make you a woman who doesn't want a relationship. You just don't feel like that's the guy for you. Now, the difference is a woman, even if she doesn't recognize that man as someone that she wants to seriously be with, she will either stop dealing with him or she has no problem still stating a relationship is something that she wants. Men, on the other hand, if they meet a woman, they're attracted to her. And again, deep inside, they want a relationship in general. But they identify that with this woman in particular, they're not trying to pursue that with her. So with her, they will say, I'm not looking for anything serious. I don't want a relationship. I don't believe in marriage. All these different things. And a lot of times, that's just to make sure you don't hold him to that standard. It's not because he doesn't want it. And the way you can, or the proof that we have of that is how many times have you witnessed a man telling a woman, I don't want anything serious, or I don't want to get married. Let's use the I don't want to get married part. He could literally be in a relationship. Say I don't want to get married to his partner. Let's say after years, she finally gets fed up. They break up. And 6 months later, he's engaged to some other woman. So it shows that he always wanted it. He just did not want it with her. And he did not want to express his desire with it whilst being with her, because then she would expect it out of him. All right. And so you have to not get caught up in what is a lie that a lot of men are telling, because again, they're just trying to not be held to a certain standard with you, as well as sometimes you're just meeting the men at a season in their life where they are rejecting relationships, but that doesn't mean they're going to remain there. So again, let's flip it for a second. Think about maybe even you yourself as a woman or friends you know. Many of us go through seasons in our life where maybe we're just like, man, forget all this. This is nonsense. I don't want a relationship right now. And in that moment, that's maybe how we feel. But then it literally could be a month later, 2 months later, weeks later, or it could just be when we meet the right person, now we're singing a different tune. All right. So again, I would argue ultimately almost everyone wants relationship. Okay. We could argue about the level of relationship they want as far as if they would want to be married versus just being in this boyfriend-girlfriend dynamic. But everyone at some point wants it. Okay. It's just that, again, you're going to be fed different stories for various different reasons. And I don't want that to derail you from the reality of how many people do want it, just like you may want it as well. All right. So now the second thing women need to know about men is that men, and I use these words a little loosely, but men need to feel wanted, desired, and useful. Okay. And we can even throw in needed, right? So let's start with this needed part. I say I'm using the word loosely because I think sometimes we misuse the word need as far as my perception is concerned. And I think that to me, the only things that we need in life is water and God, as far as if you ask me, right? But we use the word need in a lot of different ways, in a lot of different contexts. So I think don't get too stuck on the word need, but at the end of the day, the man wants to feel like he has a place in your life, a place that he can apply himself and bring value to you. Now, again, some of y'all may laugh because you're like, these men don't be looking to do anything and be useful in any way. Those are the men who are just trying to use you, manipulate you, who don't truly love you. So the caveat here is he has to genuinely care about you, genuinely love you. And I will say, if a man is not looking to bring value into your life in any way, that's a sign for you right there that this guy's not serious. All right? Because no man who's really into you is going to sit back and let you do everything. That's not the way the man operates. So when in that healthier relationship with a man who's serious, he wants to feel like he has a place. And that's why creating space for him to do for you is a good and beautiful thing. Because what happens, unfortunately, with a lot of you ladies is that some of you have become so accustomed to being independent and doing everything on your own. And you don't realize that you have this natural inclination to deny offers for help. Like, I understand you don't want to turn into this helpless damsel that always has to ask for assistance. I'm not saying that's what needs to happen. But at the very least, you have to open yourself up to receive the offers and the request to give you help. And it's the little things that matter. So it could be opening your door. Let him do that. It could be carrying the groceries in the house. Let him do that. Something needs to be fixed in the house. He offers, let him do that. Your car needs to repair. He offers, let him do that. Don't get into the habit of, oh no, I'm okay. Oh no, I got it. Because some of you there's a fear of, I don't want to seem like I need the help. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's not that you need the help in the sense that you can't do it on your own. It's just that his ability to pour into you in these ways allows him to show you love. And it allows him to feel like he has a place in your life. That only strengthens the relationship. That creates more harmony in the relationship. Now, for those of you who are struggling in that area, I want you to practice even with your family and friends. Because some of y'all even deny offers of support with family and friends. To everyone that offers, it's, I got it. I'm good. I'm okay. And then what happens for some of you, unfortunately, is that it gets to a point where no one's offering anymore. Not because they're unwilling, but they've become conditioned and accustomed to you saying you always got it. So they think you're the tough, strong one who can handle it, that doesn't need any help. But in time, that becomes a burden to you. In time, there's moments where you do want some assistance and no one's around. But again, not because some of them are unwilling. It's just that they assumed you're always fine. So break that pattern, break that cycle, start practicing with the people around you, but definitely be mindful of that when you're dealing with men because they need that in the relationship. But also, before we move on to the next point, I mentioned men want to feel desired. Listen, I love y'all, but the relationship ain't all about y'all. All right. It ain't all about the man making you feel good and showing you desire and making all the effort and you're not doing the same for him. And you got to understand that making him feel desired isn't just based off of how you feel that should be conveyed. It's about learning how he likes to feel desire, what he needs from you, essentially learning his love language. All right. Just as he should be learning yours. But make sure you've taken time to understand what speaks to his heart, what makes him feel like you are into him, okay? For some of y'all, and I'm going to put this more on the married folks who might be watching this, initiating intimacy is big. I mean, that can apply to anyone, but I'm trying to just, be careful with that topic. But bottom line is initiating it sends a signal to a man that you find him attractive, you desire him. He wants that. It's not just only you being open to it when he initiates it with you. That's good. That's a great first step, so to speak. But he wants you to initiate it as well. And a lot of relationships, the women tend to let that fall off. They forget about that. And I understand maybe some of y'all, you got a lot of things going on. So you're just generally not in the mood like he is. However, you got to find a way to cultivate an environment where you can have moments of surprising him, initiating. That will really make the vast majority of men feel a lot better in their relationship. All right, so let's keep this going. The third thing you need to know about men, and please hear me out because some of y'all ain't going to like this one, but just listen. Men are not dogs. They are just wired differently. All right? We are just wired differently. So what am I talking about? We were just talking about initiating intimacy. And the reality is that, listen, on average, men tend to have a higher priority on intimacy, sex, than the average woman. And I stress that because that doesn't mean there aren't women who are just as sexually driven or has just as high of a sex drive as a man. That exists. But I'm talking on average. Typically, it's going to be more desired and more prioritized on the man's side than it is on the woman's side. Now, a lot of women sometimes view that as like these men just lack self-control or these men are just, they don't know how to handle themselves and be disciplined, all these different things. And though that might exist among some men, I think there's a lack of understanding that men are wired very differently than women by nature. Okay? That's not me trying to make an excuse for it. It's the reality of it. So one example I'll give you, a biological, factual example. Testosterone is one of the drivers of libido. Okay? Plain and simple. And men have way more testosterone than a woman. To put it in even more specific context, and I researched this so you can go online and see if I'm telling the truth because I am, but you can check it if you want. The average woman's testosterone levels is from 10 to 90, I believe the range is, all right? And I think what I read was peak level, and these are just really rare exceptions of women, you might hit a 200 for a woman, okay? Keep that in mind. For men, the range typically is 300 to 1,000. Meaning on a man's worst day, okay, in many cases, he still has more testosterone than a woman on her greatest day. There's a huge gap. Now, granted, there's a lot more to libido and sexual desire than just testosterone, but it plays a huge role. Not to mention, just so you're aware, estrogen can lower libido. If you pump the man with more estrogen, his libido will drop, all right? But let's just focus on testosterone. The point is, just by our biological wiring, we are going to be different. We are going to have a higher level of it or higher level of desire for it. And the reason why that's so important for you to respect, understand, and embrace is because if the desire is to be in a relationship and more specifically in a marriage, Sexual disconnect is one of the greatest issues that many marriages face. It happens so often. And again, I believe that it's because we do not respect, understand, and embrace the differences between the man and the woman. Just as when I speak to men, I talk about the things they need to understand that allow a woman to be more sexually receptive to them. Women have to understand what naturally comes with this man and not demonize it, right? Especially when he's trying to keep it within the confines of, or he is keeping it in the confines of marriage. It's like, all right, he's doing what he's supposed to do in that regard. Don't then make him feel bad because he has a high desire for it. If anything, we need to figure out how we can get on the same page of it. Or before we even get to that marriage part, we need to have deeper discussions about what the expectations are, what's going to be satisfactory, how we need to show up in this area to make sure we are on the same page and we can create harmony in this relationship. We've got to stop, again, dismissing how the other person feels. So the same way I could talk to men about a woman, a lot of women's need to be emotionally poured into, okay? And the need for non-sexual intimacy. And I've had some men, I've had some husbands, like dismiss that. Oh, that's ridiculous. It's not important. That's just crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, no, don't do that. This is real. A lot of women, arguably most women, if not almost all women, need that to feel loved and valued in their relationship. It's wrong for men to dismiss those needs and values simply because they are wired differently. Therefore, it's not as important to them as an individual. They still have to respect it. So you as a woman, though you may not be wired like him, you have to respect and honor it if the goal is to create healthy, happy relationships. So understand that to some extent, it's not about men are just dogs or whatever and all over the place. It's just that we are wired in a way that creates needs for things that may be different than yours. All right. And we, again, I hate to keep saying like a broken record, but we just have to honor and respect those differences. All right. So now, before we get to the next point, I just want to let you know, if you want to learn some more about men and really strengthen your skills when it comes to relationships, check out my book, How to Get a Man to Cherish You. Don't let the title trigger you. All right? Like, trust me, it's a good book. You're going to love it. It's going to be extremely helpful to you and beneficial. So just go to stephanspeakshop.com and check that book out. Now, let's keep this going. And the next thing you need to know about men is that men can be very emotionally fragile with the woman that they love. All right? So the reality is that I know a lot of you are accustomed to dealing with men who seem very emotionally detached, very emotionally unbothered, don't really care. Like some of y'all may even question, do men have feelings? And they do. They have tons of feelings. It's just that for some, it's an issue of just suppressing it and not knowing how to deal with it and handle it and letting it out. For others, it may just be because he's not serious about you, so there are no feelings there for him to let out. He's just trying to navigate the situation casually and get what he's looking for out of it. And then for some, there's a level of fear of opening up in that way. But regardless of where a man stands, the point that I'm trying to drive here is when he's genuinely into you, when he genuinely cares, he becomes more fragile to how you treat him, more fragile to the words you use with him. Basically, the woman a man cares for has the power to build him up and inspire him, but just as quickly tear him down and destroy him. Plain and simple. And this is why some men become scared of allowing themselves to be with a woman they have deep feelings for, is because they've been burned before. And I'm not validating this approach, I'm explaining it. Many men who have been hurt feel like when they allow themselves to be vulnerable, it backfired. They felt weak. They felt like they lost respect. And what they aren't realizing is that those may all be symptoms of you were dealing with the wrong woman, number one. And number two, you may have been crossing a line where you didn't have enough respect for yourself. How can you expect others to respect you? You know, and I won't get too deep into that right now, but it's something that we have to understand our role in how people receive us or perceive us in certain moments, and address the deeper things within us that may have caused or contributed to some of those unpleasant experiences. But getting back to the point that the man is more fragile when he cares about you. And that's why, as a woman, you've got to be really careful with maybe falling into certain bad habits of how you might speak to a man. Because again, you may have, let's just say you dated 5 guys in a row who were all on some nonsense, right? And because of that, you may have engaged in talking harshly and saying certain things, and in toxic behaviors, whether you fully realize that or not. Now you meet this new guy, and he's actually a good dude. He actually cares about you, but you haven't resolved and released all that past trauma from those previous experiences, all that hurt, all that negative energy that you might still be holding on to. And then you don't realize how you're now putting it onto him. All right. And for him, those other guys, they were able to take those punches more because they didn't care about you as much. So it's easy for the guy who's toxic and doesn't truly care about you, is just trying to be with you for his own selfish reasons. He can deal with your talking disrespectfully to him and all these different things, or it doesn't hurt him or push him away like it will the guy who actually cares about you. All right? That's going to hit him harder. So this is why you want to make sure that you are always speaking in love. You're always speaking with positive energy. And if the man who you are dating cannot honor and respect that, then that is your sign that he's not someone you should be dealing with right now. But you don't want to deviate or change how you come across because of, again, the previous experiences or just unresolved hurt from your past. That's going to derail and sabotage a lot of potential relations for you. I've seen a lot of situations where a woman's tongue, her mouth, got in the way of something that could have been good. All right. So you want to be mindful of that. You want to start working on that. And you want to be honest with yourself about that if that is you, if that does apply to you. But also understand that because it's not always about how we think we're coming across, it's about understanding how they are receiving us. You want to be mindful of, if you ever notice any kind of pushback, resistance, or issue when you're dating a guy or in a relationship with a man, asking him, is he okay with how you speak to him? Discussing how you guys can better communicate in a way that allows him to be receptive to you and communicate with you as well in a healthy manner. So have those discussions, but be open enough and be honest with yourself enough if that is an issue that pertains to you. All right, so now here's another important thing you need to know about men. And this one is going to sound pretty obvious, but let me break it down and explain it to you. So the other thing you need to know is that men cannot read your mind. All right. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because this goes back to understanding the differences between the average man and the average woman. So again, this doesn't apply to every last person, but on average, yes. Women on average are very good at seeing between the lines. I use the word seeing because a lot of women see it, but don't accept it for what it is. All right. But women pick up on the details. They capture little things. They're paying attention to the body language, all of that stuff. Therefore, no matter, like if the man is acting like he's all good or saying I'm cool, but you can see and sense, no, something's off, you're very aware of that. All right. And because of that, you may be very well equipped on how to dig deeper or how to go further in trying to understand what's going on in that moment. However, the average man is not as good at picking up the small little details. Therefore, they don't know how to put 2 and 2 together by trying to read you or capture hints and things like that. For a lot of men, if they ask you what's wrong and you say nothing, even if some of them might sense there might be still something wrong, if you just tell them nothing's wrong, a lot will just say, okay, it's cool. Like they're not going to keep pushing. All right. Or for example, if you think, oh, well, he should know I want or like a certain thing because if he would pay attention to me, he would know. And it's like, no, because paying attention to you means being able to read you. And being able to read you is not the skill of the average man. Now, some men are capable, and I do think that as a man and woman can get more in tune with each other over time, they can learn that skill with each other, or they can enhance that skill. But up front or initially, that's just not going to be the case. And again, I can't tell you how many times I've sat down with someone, even married couples, and a woman will say, well, how does he not know this after all these years? And to him, it's like, because you never told me. Like, you're expecting for me to pick up on things and decipher and break it down like you as a woman may be doing, but that's not his thing. And so because a lot of men cannot read your mind, even if they love you, care about you, and you are truly the number one and only woman in their life, they need you to be more specific. They need you to be more direct. If you want to create more harmony, that's going to help. Now, I know some women will push back and say, but if I have to tell him, it takes away like the feeling that comes from him just figuring it out. And I get that. I understand that. However, would you rather just continue waiting for him and hoping that he'll come to this conclusion, or make it easy and let him know, and then he can provide you what you're looking for? I've had plenty of men say to me, I would do whatever she needed if she just told me what it was. Like, he just wants a direction, but he has to play this game of guessing game. And in that guessing game, he might guess wrong a few times. And now you're pissed off. Now we have a disconnect. Now we have tension in the relationship, but he's actually genuinely trying and not understanding what it is you need. So you want to be more specific. And to give an example, even if you say to a man, and this could be in dating phase or in a relationship or in a marriage, I need more quality time from you. That's not specific enough, all right? Like, because more quality time for that man may be, all right, if I give her a couple more hours in the day, or if I give her an extra day, that should be enough. But you might be thinking, no, I needed 2-3 more days, or whatever it is, right? You have a specific thing that you're looking to receive from him. He's still trying to guess what is exactly enough, what is appropriate here for you. The only way to ensure that we don't have this ongoing disconnect that creates more problems is saying, so in this example, I need to see you 3 times a week, or I need to hear from you every single day, or I want to get a good morning text from you. Be specific. Because again, don't take away the fact that he actually embraced what you said and did it. Take that away because he didn't come up with it himself. All right. It shows that he's serious when he's willing to hear you out, make the adjustments, and pour into you in the ways that you're asking for. That to me is a greater sign of the man who cares about you. He doesn't dismiss how you feel. He accepts it, respects it, and then implements it. So be more transparent, be more open. All right. Understand that if you allow him to guess, he's going to guess wrong. And if you just so are diehard on you want him to figure some things out, then you must give him some more grace. You got to give him some more grace within the process. And you have to make sure that you don't demonize or dismiss the efforts, even when the effort is incorrect. So it's almost like, okay, yes, I still appreciate you trying. Thank you for that. But I would like something a little bit more than that, a little bit different. So you're encouraging him to adjust what he's doing, but you're still recognizing that he loves you, cares about you, and is trying to pour into you. So listen, there's a lot more things I can list on what you need to know about men. So as usual, I'll probably make a different video for it. But I really want you to don't suck your teeth or turn your nose up on what I'm saying here today. I present this information because, again, I'm trying to help decrease or eliminate the disconnect between men and women so that we can have more harmony in our relationships. And at the end of the day, it's all going to boil down to proper, healthy communication. Because as long as we can sit down and talk about these things, then we can get on the same page, or we can see if we're just not for each other. And we got to be honest about what we need and what we're prepared to give. All right. So have these discussions. Don't project these negative thoughts on men in general. Understand great ones exist. And as long as you are walking the path you need to walk on, you will receive the blessings that God has for you. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here. And I'll see you there. He will more likely try to limit conversation. Now, there are some men who want to be casual and talk your ear off. Okay. So it's not an automatic thing, but I will say that if he's unwilling, then chances are he's either not willing to be serious